So today our topic of discussion is one of the cranial bones. It is the parietal bone, and it is the flat curved paired bone, and this bone presents two surfaces: external smooth convex surface, internal surface, and it shows some grooves on the bone. Four borders. What are those? Superior or sagittal border, anterior or the frontal border, inferior or the squamosal border, and the posterior or the occipital border. As well, it obviously will have four angles. What are those? Antero-superior angle, it is also called as the frontal angle or the bregma. Posterior-superior angle, it is also called as the lambda, and it is also called as the occipital angle. Antero-inferior angle, it is called as the Terrian or the sphenoidal angle. Posterior-inferior angle, it is called as the mastoid angle or the Asterian. Okay, let's start with the surfaces. External surface is smooth and convex outwards. Just on the center of the external surface, it shows tuberosity. It is called as the parietal tuberosity, and below this tuberosity it presents two convex curved lines with its convexity upwards, and these are called as the superior temporal line and the inferior temporal line. Superior temporal line provides attachment of the temporalis fascia and the lateral part of the epicranial aponeurosis. Inferior temporal line provides, along with the area below the inferior temporal line, forms the major part of the floor of the temporal fossa, and it is covered by the temporalis muscle. The above the superior temporal line, it is covered by the epicranial aponeurosis, and this parietal tuberosity has some significances. What are those? Basically, this parietal tuberosity, from this parietal tuberosity, the ossification of each parietal bone starts, and this parietal bone is significant for some important surface landmarks, and it presents the maximum distance of the interparietal diameter. And beneath this parietal tuberosity, that means just opposite to the parietal tuberosity, on the internal surface of the parietal bone, it contains, or it lodges, the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus of the brain that terminates with an upturned end, and it is surrounded by the supramarginal gyrus along with the one important area, that is the Wernicke's sensory speech area, that usually present on the left cerebral hemisphere. Again, on the external surface, usually close to the posterior part of the superior border, there is an foramen that is called the parietal foramen. Here it is actually not present, but it should have been here, near to the posterior part of the superior border, and this foramen basically transmits an emissary vein that connects the superior sagittal sinus along with the veins of the scalp and meningeal branch of the occipital artery. So this is the significance of the parietal foramen. Let's come to the internal surface. Internal surface is deeply concave, and it shows some groovings or markings. Which are those four? These groovings have been formed by the gyri of the cerebral hemisphere, and the middle meningeal vessels and some sinuses. So let's come with one by one. First one, you can see one grooving is starting from the antero-inferior angle like this. This lodges the anterior division of the middle meningeal vessels, and I have to mention it here that basically this grooving is formed by the vein, that is the middle meningeal vein, rather than the artery. This is the anterior division. And next one, just close to the posterior inferior angle or the posterior part of the inferior border, one grooving is going upwards with backwards tilting. It is usually formed by the posterior division of the middle meningeal vessels, as you can see it here. Okay, and one thing is here that close to the posterior inferior angle, as you can see that this is the anterior inferior angle, it is of my left side, this parietal bone is of the left side, so it is the anterior inferior angle and this is the posterior inferior angle. So the internal surface of the posterior inferior angle, there is a wide grooving. There is a wide grooving, you can see it, wide grooving, and this is for the lodgement of the sigmoid sinus. Fine. And another thing, important thing is along the superior or sagittal border there is one sulcus. And along with the opposite sided parietal bone, it forms the sagittal sulcus, and the margins of the sagittal sulcus provide attachment to the dural fold of the falx cerebri. Okay, and around the sagittal sulcus in some bones that there are some pits, granular pits, and these are because of the formation of the arachnoid granulations. Okay, but here two imaginary lines you have to know. What are those? Because these lines are important, as one line extends downward and forward from the 3 to 4 centimeter behind the antero-superior angle. One line goes downwards and forwards for almost 7.5 centimeter, and this line is basically corresponding with the central sulcus, and it separates the frontal lobe in front and the parietal lobe behind. Another line extending from the antero-inferior angle towards the parietal tuberosity, as I have told you earlier that the opposite to the parietal tuberosity, the internal surface, there is one important structure, that is the posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus. So here is your posterior ramus of the lateral sulcus, and this intervenes between the frontoparietal lobes above and in front and the occipitotemporal lobes below and behind. So here you can see that along the superior or sagittal border there is a sagittal sulcus, which is for the lodgement of the sagittal sinus. Superior sagittal sinus, here will be your superior sagittal sinus. From the antero-inferior angle there will be your anterior division of the middle meningeal vessels. From the close to the posterior inferior angle there will be the posterior division of the middle meningeal vessels, and on the internal surface of the posterior inferior angle there will be your sigmoid sinus. So you can see it here clearly that all the four angles are basically vascular. Okay, but one important thing is that these internal surface of the parietal bone basically overlaps to the all four major lobes of cerebral hemisphere. As I have told you that these imaginary lines are demarcating all those four lobes. Let's come to the borders. This is the superior border and this is the longest serrated border, and it articulates with the similar one of the opposite sided parietal bone, and this forms the sagittal suture. The inferior border, you can see that inferior border is beveled to its outer surface. Fine. Its anterior part, towards its anterior part along with the anteroinferior angle, it articulates with the tip of the greater wing of the sphenoid bone in an overlapping manner. This middle part or intervening part articulates with the squamous part of the temporal bone, and the posterior part is basically, you can see it, that posterior part is serrated. This is the bevel, and this portion, the posterior part of the inferior border is the serrated, and this portion articulates with the mastoid part of the temporal bone. Next, the anterior or frontal border, it is beveled in its upper part on its outer surface and beveled in its lower part on its inner surface, and this frontal border articulates with the parietal border of the frontal bone and forms the coronal suture, the half of the coronal suture. Next, this is the posterior or occipital border. This is like a dentated feature, and it articulates with the this posterior border articulates with the superolateral borders of the squamous part of the occipital bone and forms the one half of the lambdoid suture. So the borders are complete. Let's start with the angles. First, the anterior-superior angle, it makes a right angle bend and it forms the bregma, and because this is the meeting point of the coronal suture and the sagittal suture. Next is the posterior-superior angle. It is also called as the occipital angle, and it is the meeting point of sagittal suture and the lambdoid suture, and that is why this meeting point or this posterior-superior angle is also called as the lambda. This antero-inferior angle, this is the most downward portion or point of the parietal bone, and it is the meeting point of the four bones, and that is those four bones are demarcated by a H-shaped suture. And which are those bones? The frontal bone in front, squamous part of temporal bone behind, the sphenoidal or antero-inferior angle of parietal bone above, and the greater wing of the sphenoid below. As I have told you earlier, that this antero-inferior angle articulates with the greater wing of sphenoid. Next, come to the posterior-inferior angle. This is the posterior-inferior angle, and this is the meeting point of three bones. What are those? The parietal bone, mastoid part of temporal bone, and the occipital bone behind. So this is also called as the asterion. Fine. So what will be the anatomical position of this parietal bone, and what are the points favoring the holding this bone in an anatomical position? First point is the longest serrated border should be above and towards the midline. Antero-inferior angle will be facing downwards and forwards, and this external surface with its convexity should be outwards. That means that it has to be this bone has to be on the left sided, as you can see it here, and you should hold the bone with the antero-inferior angle like this. This upper border should be towards the midline.